Chapter 7:17. Su Yiyen glanced at him indifferently. He was different from the high-spirited and unrestrained person he was a year ago. Huo Xiaofeng, who had lost the heir of the Huo group and was embroiled in a family dispute, now looked exceptionally gloomy and dispirited. He exuded a sense of dejection from head to toe. Su Yiyen couldn't help but sigh when she saw this, but she didn't sympathize with him. If this person had a little self-awareness back then, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Su Yiyen quickly put away the astonishment she felt when she first saw him. She swaggered to the sofa opposite Huo Xiaofeng and sat down. She said indifferently, "I'm married. I have a husband and a family. Is it that surprising that I'm pregnant?" For some reason, these words pierced Huo Xiaofeng's heart, causing his face to darken. "Your belly is so obvious. I guess you're not in early pregnancy, but there's no news at all. It looks like Uncle doesn't care much about you and your child." Uncle Zhang, who had come down with them because he was worried, heard Huo Xiaofeng's words and had a fierce look in his eyes. Just as he was about to go up and scold this guy who dared to drive a wedge between his young master and young madam, he heard his young madam suddenly ask, "Are you an idiot?" The room instantly fell silent. Huo Xiaofeng was stunned for a few seconds before he asked with a dark face, "What? My husband didn't tell anyone because he was worried that some stupid and bad idiots would find out that I'm pregnant and come here to cause trouble and disturb my rest. As for who he's guarding against, don't you know?" Su Yiyen said as she looked meaningfully at the bodyguards around her. Her meaning was self-evident. Huo Xiaofeng couldn't help but show some anger on his face. His hands hanging by his side clenched into fists. Su Yiyen admired Huo Xiaofeng's sorry state for a while and didn't want to be long-winded with him. "Did you come here today just to ask about my relationship with my husband? Does he care about me? If so, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Our relationship is very good. Husband and wife are harmonious. Soon, we'll have a group of children. If there's nothing else, I won't keep you any longer. I'm in a special situation now and need to rest." The words, "a group of children," almost accurately pierced Huo Xiaofeng's heart. Ever since he got beaten up because of Su Yiyen, that part of him had been injured. Although it could still be used, it was still a lingering illness. Regardless of men's dignity, it wouldn't be easy for them to have children in the future. Mrs. Huo did not dare to tell him. She only said that it was temporary and that he would be cured soon if he cooperated with the treatment. However, he couldn't hide the truth forever. In the end, he overheard his mother's conversation with the doctor and found out about it. At that time, he was filled with anger and wanted to tear Su Yiyen into pieces. But now, looking at the pregnant and happy Su Yiyen, he was in a trance for a moment. After losing everything and falling from the top, Huo Xiaofeng finally understood why Su Yiyen had always mocked him for being self-righteous. After losing the position of young master of the family Huo and the heir of the Huo corporation, he was nothing in the eyes of others. He didn't deserve anything. If he hadn't chosen Wen Jingping back then and followed his family's arrangement to marry Su Yiyen. Or perhaps, if he had not been so self-righteous back then, after choosing Wen Jingping, he would have apologized to the Su family properly. Then, both parties would have negotiated and peacefully cancelled the marriage. Would everything be different now? Chapter 7:18. Su Yiyen didn't know what Huo Xiaofeng was thinking. Seeing that he didn't respond for a long time, she rolled her eyes and got up to go upstairs. "Wait." Huo Xiaofeng seemed to wake up from a dream and hurriedly called out to Su Yiyen. "I'm here to ask you and Uncle to cooperate." "Cooperation?" Su Yiyen widened her eyes in surprise and laughed. "Why should we cooperate with you?" Huo Xiaofeng choked and gritted his teeth. "Doesn't Uncle want the Huo group? If he doesn't want it, why would he attend the Huo group's shareholders' meeting? You're well informed." Su Yiyen chuckled. "So? How are you going to cooperate with us? You should have heard about what happened to our family." Hua Qinhuan looked up at Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan didn't say anything and just let him continue. My father is determined to divorce my mother and wants me and my mother to leave the marriage with nothing. It was expected, but Su Yiyan was still surprised by someone's coldness. Regardless of what Mrs. Hua was like, Hua Xiaofeng was still his son. If he were to leave the marriage with nothing, he would really become enemies with them. You don't want your mother to divorce him, or you don't want to leave the marriage with nothing? I don't want to, but I have no choice. So you want us to help you so that Hua Qihan can't divorce your mother? No. No? I've seen what kind of person he is, so I accept my fate. Su Yiyan didn't expect Hua Xiaofeng to say this. One had to know that a few months ago, this young master still looked like he had a deep grudge, as if the whole world owed him. Now he was telling her that he had accepted his fate? What did Hua Qihan do to provoke him like this? Or was he lying to her? Since you've accepted your fate, why did you come to us? What do you want to do? Like I said, I want to work with you. I'll help you get the Hua Corporation, and you help me kill Hua Qihan. Su Yiyan was stunned. He looked at Hua Xiaofeng as if he was looking at a rare toy. Hua Xiaofeng seemed to be provoked by the look in her eyes. He said loudly, "You don't believe me? Why should I believe you? Are we close?" Hua Xiaofeng stood up, his face flushed red. Just as he was about to speak, Su Yiyan interrupted him. First of all, where does a person who has been expelled from the Hua Corporation get the courage to tell others that you can help them get the company? If it were really that easy, you wouldn't have left in such a sorry state. Hua Xiaofeng's face darkened. He opened his mouth, but was interrupted by Su Yiyan. Secondly, murder is against the law. I don't know what kind of conflict you and your father had that you would fight to the death. However, this is your business. We don't want to get involved, and we don't need to. Whether your family lives or dies, it has nothing to do with us. Finally, let's not talk about whether Qinhuan cares about the Hua Corporation, which is now riddled with holes. Even if he really wants it, you should know that even without you, he has the ability to get what he wants. In this world, there's only what he wants, and there's nothing he can't get. In that case, why should we work with you? Hua Xiaofeng listened to Su Yiyan's evaluation of Hua Qinhuan. He was angry and a little jealous. Do you trust him that much? Su Yiyan glanced at Hua Xiaofeng. Her eyes were full of indisputable persistence and pride. It's not a matter of whether I trust him or not. He's good enough. Chapter 7:19. Su Yiyan glanced at Hua Xiaofeng's dazed expression. She lifted her chin slightly and said coldly, "If that's all you want to say, then you've finished speaking and I've finished listening. Uncle Zhang, see the guest out." Wait. Hua Xiaofeng saw that Su Yiyan was really going to leave, so he asked someone to drive him out. Finally, he became anxious. I have evidence of Hua Qihan's corruption and murder. As long as you have this evidence, you can easily take him down and take the Hua Corporation into your own hands. Taking bribes, bending the law, and killing for money? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. Since you have such evidence, why don't you make it public yourself? You said so much just now. Don't you want Hua Qihan to be doomed eternally? Hua Xiaofeng was stunned, and his hands that were hanging by his side tightened again. Even if you don't say it, I know that you can't release it. Su Yiyan saw through his thoughts at a glance. Even if you really have evidence that can make Hua Qihan fall to pieces, with your current status and personal ability, it's impossible to release it and make a big deal out of it. Moreover, it's impossible to guarantee that you won't be implicated because of this matter afterward. So, you came to us and wanted us to help you. Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief and sneered. In the end, you just want to turn us into a knife in your hand and use us to kill people. Do you think Qinhuan and I are such stupid people? Even if we are, so what? Since he had been seen through, Hua Xiaofeng did not beat around the bush anymore. He simply said, I do want to use you, but isn't this good for you at all? If you want the Hua group, it's inevitable that you will overthrow my father. What I want is the inevitable result. In general, this matter has more advantages than disadvantages for you, doesn't it? Su Yiyan heard this and finally looked at Hua Xiaofeng for a while. I haven't seen you for a while, but you've grown a lot. Hua Xiaofeng's brows furrowed slightly. For some reason, his mood suddenly became somewhat complicated. So, are you going to work with me or not? Su Yiyan did not answer his question directly. Instead, he asked, what are the specifics? You only have one request, which is for Hua Qihan to die or for him to suffer a fate worse than death. I can give you all these things, but after it's done, you have to give me a sum of money so that I can take my mother away. Su Yiyan declined to comment. Hua Xiaofeng pursed his lips and continued, other than that, I want you to promise me that you'll destroy Wen Jingping's reputation. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and pretended not to know. Isn't Wen Jingping your girlfriend? You two are having an argument, and you want us, your elders, to stand up for you? If word gets out, I'm afraid that outsiders will say that we're bullying the young and taking advantage of our seniority. Hua Xiaofeng glared at Su Yiyan angrily. He did not believe that the person in front of him did not know that Wen Jingping had left him. Now that he said this, it was obvious that he wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Su Yiyan met his gaze calmly and said with a faint smile, don't you think you're asking for too much? Hua Xiaofeng trembled all over. He had already tasted a little blood in his mouth. He lowered his head and was silent for a long time. Then, he reluctantly said, I know. I know the truth about my grandparents' deaths. As long as you help me complete what I just said, I will tell you. Su Yiyan's eyes narrowed slightly. The confident expression on his face suddenly froze at this moment. Chapter 720. A strange silence spread throughout the hall. Even Uncle Zhang, who had been standing guard at the side, couldn't help but widen his eyes in disbelief. After the initial shock, Su Yiyan quickly calmed down. Her eyes were slightly cold as she frowned and said, Grandpa, Grandma, are you talking about Chenhuan's parents? Didn't Chenhuan's parents pass away in an accident? Hua Xiaofeng sneered and said sarcastically, how can there be so many accidents in this world? Even someone as calm as Su Yiyan couldn't help but feel nervous the moment she heard his words. You mean that Chenhuan's parents didn't pass away in an accident, but were killed by someone? Who? Hua Xiaofeng looked up at Su Yiyan and chuckled. Are you trying to gain something without risking anything? Do you think I'm that stupid? Su Yiyan thought to herself, in my heart, you really are that stupid. However, she only replied, how do I know if you're telling the truth? Whether it's true or not, you'll naturally have to investigate it yourself. Do you think you'll believe me just because I say it? I've already shown you my greatest sincerity. Now it's your turn. Hua Xiaofeng's attitude was very clear. This was already all his trump cards. If he told them now, what would he use to play with? Since they were both on guard against each other, then it would depend on whose trump card was more valuable and how much help they could provide to the other. Of course, Su Yiyan couldn't promise him too much just because of this specious statement. However, if she really rejected him, what if Hua Xiaofeng really knew something? I can't make this decision alone. When Chenhuan comes back, I'll tell him and give you an answer then. Su Yiyan didn't reject him on the spot. For Hua Xiaofeng, this was already a good result. However, when he heard her words, he couldn't help but say out of habit, didn't you say that he loves you very much? Why don't you even have the right to make such a small decision? Do you still need to ask him? Pay attention to your words. You have to ask him if he wants to cooperate with you. You don't have to ask him if he wants to reject you on the spot. Su Yiyan coldly glanced at Hua Xiaofeng and warned, don't forget who is begging whom now. Uncle Zhang, see them out. Hua Xiaofeng was infuriated by Su Yiyan's attitude. He didn't even wait for Uncle Zhang and the others to chase him away politely. He turned around and left. However, after he walked out of the family hua, he seemed to have thought of something. He paused and turned around to take a deep look at the house. Many emotions flashed through his eyes. In the end, he didn't say anything and quickly left. When Hua Qinhuan found out that Hua Xiaofeng had come to his house to look for his wife, he rushed home as fast as he could. Su Yiyan was not surprised by Hua Qinhuan's early return. She smiled faintly and said, "If the boss takes the lead and skips work, what will happen if his subordinates follow suit? They won't dare." Hua Qinhuan looked Su Yiyan up and down. When he was sure that she and the children were fine, he breathed a sigh of relief. Even if they don't dare, they can't lead this bad example. As punishment, you will make dumplings with the chef at home tonight. Tomorrow, bring them to the company as an apology to the employees you stood up. Okay. Hua Qinhuan agreed without thinking. He reached out and pulled Su Yiyan into his arms. He sighed and said, "I was worried when I heard that Hua Xiaofeng came to look for you." "What are you worried about? There are so many people at home. What can he do to me? Or?" Su Yiyan looked up at Hua Qinhuan and chuckled. "Are you jealous that I met with him alone?" Chapter 721. Although he didn't say anything about her engagement with Hua Xiaofeng, he had always been concerned about it. At that time, he was so self-conscious that he didn't even dare to say that he liked her because of his health. In the end, she was the one who took the initiative to win him over. Now, he was jealous. Really, Hua Qinhuan was exposed, and he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He tried to change the topic. "What did you talk about? Didn't they tell you what we talked about?" Su Yiyan was referring to Uncle Zhang and the bodyguards at home. In addition to protecting her, these people also reported her situation at home to Hua Qinhuan in detail every day. Su Yiyan knew that he was worried about her, so she didn't reject it. Hua Qinhuan was silent for a moment and whispered, "I want to hear it from you." "Actually, we didn't talk about anything. It's just," Su Yiyan simply repeated what Hua Xiaofeng said and asked curiously, "What did Hua Qihan do to make Hua Xiaofeng angry?" "He actually forced Hua Xiaofeng to come to us for cooperation. I've lived a long life." It had to be said that Hua Xiaofeng suddenly came to them to talk about cooperation. Su Yiyan was indeed a little scared. She couldn't tell what was wrong. She just felt that she had been following the family drama for a long time with great interest. She didn't know why she suddenly missed several episodes. When she watched again, she couldn't understand a lot of things. A cornered dog will do something desperate. A cornered dog will do something desperate? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. What did he do? He drove Hua Xiaofeng and his mother out and hired a group of people to assassinate them. Su Yiyan was shocked. She thought that it was shocking enough to hear Hua Xiaofeng say that he wanted to cooperate with them to kill Hua Qihan. She didn't expect, is he crazy? No matter what, Hua Xiaofeng and his mother are still his wife and children. Even if he no longer has feelings for them, he doesn't have to kill them all. Hua Qinhuan was actually a little confused about this matter. Based on her understanding of Hua Qihan, it stood to reason that he would not be so ruthless. If he really had such courage, he wouldn't have been stuck in the same spot all these years and led the Hua Corporation to rely on its original assets. Wait, Su Yiyan frowned. Could it be that what Hua Xiaofeng said was true? He really has evidence of Hua Qihan's crimes. This is the only explanation. When Su Yiyan said this, he subconsciously raised his head and glanced at Hua Qinhuan. He deliberated and said, "Actually, other than what I just said, he also said something else." "What?" "He said that he knew the truth behind your parents' death." As soon as Su Yiyan said this, Hua Qinhuan's face darkened at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Yiyan's heart trembled. She braced herself and asked tentatively, "Uncle, Didn't Dad and Mom die in an accident? No. Unexpectedly, although Hua Chenhuan's expression was ugly, he still answered Su Yiyan's question. Their car was tampered with. Su Yiyan was shocked. Tampered with? Who was it? Hua Chenhuan shook his head. At that time, his parents had died one after another, and the whole family was in a mess. He himself was in such a terrible state that he had no energy to investigate whether the tragedy was an accident or man-made. When he recovered a little and realized that there was something fishy about it, the relevant traces had basically been erased. The dead told no tales. Chapter 722. If it weren't for the clues in the test report, perhaps even he himself would think that it was an unavoidable accident. Su Yiyan couldn't help but reach out to hold his hand and comfort him. It's okay. We'll find it sooner or later. Then he thought of Hua Xiaofeng's words. Does Hua Xiaofeng really know something? Before you came back, I didn't know much about this matter. I didn't refuse or agree to his good intentions. I only said that I would discuss it with you when you came back. Do you want to ask him? Hua Chenhuan's eyes flashed slightly, and he nodded. I'll deal with this matter. You just focus on taking care of the baby. I'm here for you. Su Yiyan knew that Hua Chenhuan didn't want him to be involved in this matter, so he didn't continue to ask and nodded obediently. Hua Chenhuan smiled slightly and touched Su Yiyan's face, which had finally gained some weight. There was a smile in his eyes. By the way, my uncle is coming back. Your uncle? Su Yiyan blinked and looked surprised. When? In a few days, he may come to see you. See me? Su Yiyan's heart suddenly thumped, and he looked flustered. Do I need to prepare anything? Is there anything your uncle doesn't want to talk about? Do I need to pay attention to anything? Don't be nervous. He's just coming to see you. He won't do anything to you. Su Yiyan wasn't comforted at all. Instead, he stared at Hua Chenhuan for a long time and said carefully, Are you not on good terms with him? Hua Chenhuan was slightly stunned. Why do you ask? You haven't mentioned him before. The last time you mentioned him, you didn't seem to want to talk about it. Hua Chenhuan was silent for a long time after hearing that, and then he said in a hoarse voice, It's not that we don't have a good relationship, but there are some contradictions. Contradictions? My uncle was originally a special member of a special department who specialized in dangerous work. Most of the people he came into contact with were the most vicious people in the world. The only time Hua Chenhuan mentioned her uncle in front of Su Yiyan was when she was worried that Hai-E Entertainment would maliciously compete with Luo Baogang and his wife in order to suppress Dongcheng. At that time, when Hua Chenhuan mentioned him, although it was only a few words, Su Yiyan still felt that this uncle whom he had never met before was not a simple person. He just didn't expect him to have such an identity. Back then, when my parents passed away, he rushed back as soon as he received the news and gave me a document. Information? Yes, it was this document that let me know that my parents didn't die in an accident. Then, my uncle tried his best to find out the truth, but he accidentally discovered that his enemy seemed to be involved in this matter. Su Yiyan was stunned, and immediately understood what Hua Chenhuan meant. Due to the special nature of her uncle's profession, it was inevitable that he would provoke some terrible enemies. These enemies couldn't do anything to him, so it was very likely that they would make a move on his family. I was young at that time, and because of what happened to my parents, I was quite depressed. After I found out about it, I had a one-sided argument with him. When Su Yiyan heard this, she hugged his waist and curled up in his arms, trying to give him warmth with her body temperature. When the family Hua's accident happened, Hua Chenhuan was only in his teens. He suddenly lost his parents, and not long after, he found out that his parents' tragedy was most likely caused by another relative. It was a double blow. Chapter 723. Hua Chenhuan hugged Su Yiyan back inside. I blamed him for my parents' deaths and thought that he was the one who killed them. Later, he quit his job and went abroad alone. Maybe he knew that I hated him, so he never came back. Hua Chenhuan lowered his head and met Su Yiyan's distressed gaze. He said self-mockingly, "Do you think I'm being unreasonable? Obviously, you can't blame him for this at all. Not to mention that they couldn't be sure whether this matter was really caused by the enemies of Hua Chenhuan's uncle. Even if it was, they shouldn't blame Hua Chenhuan's uncle." Hua Chenhuan also knew this, so he regretted it after he calmed down. However, at that time, there was already a psychological problem. It was as if he had walked into a dead end and blindly went into a dead end. He thought that if his uncle wasn't in this line of work, he wouldn't have provoked these people. Would his parents and even himself not be the target of their revenge? Later, when he realized that he couldn't blame his uncle, he thought that if they hadn't rushed back to celebrate his birthday, those people wouldn't have found the opportunity to assassinate them. His uncle was responsible for his parents' deaths, but how could he not be responsible? When Su Yiyan heard his words, she immediately remembered what Uncle Zhang said to her that day. She subconsciously tightened her arms around Hua Chenhuan. "You didn't do anything wrong. Uncle didn't do anything wrong. The people who are wrong are those who murdered your parents. Don't torture yourself with other people's mistakes. This will only fuel their arrogance and make the people who love you sad." Hua Chenhuan was silent for a long time after hearing this. Then he chuckled and said, "You're right. You just said that he never came back after he went abroad. Then the hotel you mentioned last time, Uncle's businesses are mostly overseas, but they cover a wide range. He also cooperates with domestic companies. And the hotel isn't the only business under his name. The people I sent to protect Luo Baogang were basically his people." Hua Chenhuan paused and said in a low voice, "After he resigned, he took most of his men with him. However, he trained another group of people to protect me." Su Yiyan was stunned. "He's worried that those people will come back to take revenge if they know that you're not dead?" "Yes." Su Yiyan was worried that the uncle and nephew didn't have a good relationship and that she would be stuck in the middle. Now, it seemed that one was still worried about his nephew even when he was hiding abroad. Even if he was blamed, he still put his nephew's safety first. In fact, the other one had long regretted his actions. However, after such a long time, coupled with his pride, he didn't know how to break the deadlock. "How about this? When Uncle comes back, I'll personally cook a welcome banquet for him. Everyone can have a meal together and talk." They were all family, how could there be any overnight grudges? It's been so long. It's time to let it go. Su Yiyan suddenly asked, "Your mother's relationship with your uncle should be good, right?" "Yes, they have a good relationship." "That's right. If your mother was still here, she wouldn't want to see the two of you like this." Hua Chenhuan's eyes flickered. She replied in a low voice, "Yes." "Then it's settled. Go and ask your uncle if he has any favorite dishes. Or what flavor of food he likes. I'll prepare them in advance." Chapter 724. Su Yiyan said this deliberately to give Hua Chenhuan a reason to take the initiative to talk to his uncle. Hua Chenhuan knew this, but she didn't say anything. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows, but she didn't intend to let him go so easily. "What? I'm pregnant now, and my body is cumbersome. Can't I order you around?" She pretended to be angry, but she didn't forget to use the baby in her belly to add weight. She was really a clever little girl. Hua Chenhuan looked at her and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He did not remember to hesitate or be in a difficult position. Naturally, he agreed to any request. Okay. I'll ask when I have time. No, I want to know my uncle's preferences tomorrow. If you can't complete the task, you'll sleep in the guest room tomorrow night." In order to prevent someone from disobeying, Su Yiyan went all out. Sure enough, when Hua Chunhuan heard the words, "sleep in the guest room," her eyes turned cold, and her face became serious. "Okay, honey. I promise to complete the task." "That's more like it." Su Yiyen nodded with satisfaction. When she was about to say something, Hua Chunhuan's phone suddenly rang. Hua Chunhuan glanced at the screen, and her eyes flashed. She picked up the phone in front of Su Yiyen. After a few words, Hua Chunhuan's face darkened quickly. "What's wrong?" Hua Chunhuan hung up the phone. "Ling Xiaoqi. Something happened." "What?" Slow down, slow down." Ling Xiaoqi was still in shock. When she got out of the car with a pale face, she saw Su Yiyen running out with an obvious belly. Hua Chunhuan was beside her, anxiously protecting her to prevent her from falling. Yen, Ling Xiaoqi seemed to have found her backbone and took the initiative to hug Su Yiyen. Su Yiyen saw that Ling Xiaoqi came back safe and sound with her own eyes. She was relieved, but she still said nervously, "I heard from Chunhuan that the man went to find you and had a conflict with you. Are you hurt anywhere?" Ling Xiaoqi let go of Su Yiyen and shook her head. "I'm fine. I'm not hurt. This time, thanks to someone's help, I'm fine. I didn't suffer any losses." Hua Chunhuan was worried about Su Yiyen's health, so she reminded her, "It's cold at night. Let's talk inside." Yes. Let's talk inside." "Are you scared?" "I'll ask the kitchen to prepare some calming tea for you. Why don't you stay here for the night and go back tomorrow morning?" As Su Yiyen spoke, he was about to pull Ling Xiaoqi inside when he unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. President Ning? The man who came out from the other side of Ling Xiaoqi's car was actually the young master of the Ning family, Ning Siyuan. "How did you?" Ling Xiaoqi saw Su Yiyen's reaction and knew that they did know each other. She said embarrassedly, Yen. He helped me just now." "Him?" Su Yiyen's eyes widened in surprise. He couldn't understand how these two people were related. A few minutes later, a group of people sat in the living room of the family Hua's old house and listened to Ling Xiaoqi talk about what happened not long ago. At that time, it happened too suddenly. Those people suddenly pounced on me, and I was also shocked. Fortunately, the bodyguards reacted quickly and surrounded me in time to protect me. But he brought too many people with him. The bodyguards had to stop them and protect me at the same time. It was really not easy. Fortunately, Mr. Ning appeared in time and helped to drive them away. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. Chapter 725. That's too much. Su Yiyen had expected that someone would shamelessly snatch her away if pushed too far. However, she was still infuriated by someone's shamelessness. They dare to snatch people so brazenly in front of so many people. Are they sure that the Qin clan is omnipotent and no one can do anything to them? Su Yiyen was so angry that Hua Chunhuan was beside her to calm her down. She was afraid that she would lose her head in anger and hurt herself and the child in her belly. She quickly changed the topic to Ning Siyuan. "President Ning, what brings you to East City today?" "I'm here to look for Chirui. He's been busy with work these days and hasn't been home for a few days. My parents are worried that he's recovering from a serious illness and can't take it, so they asked me to take the time to visit him. I didn't expect to see Miss Ling surrounded by a group of people when I arrived at your company's parking lot." Ning Siyuan didn't expect that the person he saved would know Su Yiyen. Later, when he heard Ling Xiaoqi say that she wanted to call Su Yiyen, he realized that he had saved a friend of an acquaintance. "I see." Su Yiyen was both angry and relieved. She sighed in relief and said, "President Ning, thank you so much for your help this time. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened to my friend. Miss Su, you're too kind. This is what I should do. Even if it was just a stranger who encountered such a situation, I couldn't just stand by and do nothing, not to mention that Miss Ling is your friend. You've helped our family so much before. You're our benefactor. It's my honor to be able to help you now. Su Yiyan knew that Ning Xiyuan was talking about Ning Qirue's illness and his own asthma. She laughed dryly and felt a little guilty. After all, when she decided to treat them in the first place, her intentions weren't that simple. Ling Xiaoqi was surprised and confused when she heard Ning Xiyuan's words. Why did it sound like Su Yiyan had helped their family a lot? Well, no matter what, I still want to thank you. I owe you a favor. If you need anything in the future, as long as it's within my power, just let me know. Ning Xiyuan's eyes lit up. Su Yiyan's promise was more sincere than any gratitude. Su Yiyan thought about it carefully and still felt a little scared. He did this because he was driven to desperation and didn't care about anything else. You'd better not go out for the next few days. Fortunately, President Ning was here today. Otherwise, you would probably be on your way to Sea City by now. Yeah. When Ling Xiaoqi thought of Qin Fangda's hideous and ugly appearance when he shed all pretense of cordiality, she felt somewhat upset. Although her mother had never hidden anything about Qin Fangda, and she didn't have a good impression of her father since she was young, her imagination was still a little different from reality. Seeing this person's true appearance with her own eyes, Ling Xiaoqi was still a little shocked, and she felt a little uncomfortable. What kind of monster did her mother encounter back then? Su Yiyan could roughly guess what was on her mind when she saw her expression. She secretly cursed that some scum really didn't deserve to be a parent. Let's not talk about him. I'm afraid you've had quite a scare today. Sleep well tonight and you'll be fine when you wake up tomorrow. Su Yiyan paused and said coldly, you don't have to worry about that man. Since he dared to do this, he can't blame us for being rude to him. Yeah. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiaoqi's eyes. What he did today, if we call the police, can we arrest him? Chapter 726. Su Yiyan was stunned. He didn't expect Ling Xiaoqi to be so resolute that she wanted to send someone to the police station. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's a little difficult. You're related to him by blood after all. If you really call the police, he can say that he had a conflict with a rebellious child. Although his behavior is a little extreme, it's understandable. It's also difficult for the people there. In the end, they can at most treat it as a family dispute and mediate. They won't really do anything to him. Nowadays, girls walking on the road were robbed by human traffickers. After being caught, they would lie and say that they mistakenly thought that the other party was their girlfriend to get away with it. Not to mention that Ling Xiaoqi and Qin Fangda were father and daughter by blood. As long as they didn't kill each other, it would be difficult to report or manage. Ling Xiaoqi actually knew this, but she was a little unwilling. Some parents were not as reliable as strangers. She knew that the other party was here to harm her. Just because they were related by blood, she was completely in a passive state. How unfair was that? However, since she had asked such a question, it could be seen that she really wanted to draw a line with the other party completely. Okay, don't be angry. Although we can't call the police to arrest him, it's not impossible to make him suffer if you really want to. You've been frightened today. Have a good rest first. Tomorrow, we'll have a good discussion and help you vent your anger. Okay. Su Yiyan saw that she gradually calmed down and smiled faintly. You can stay with us tonight and go back tomorrow. Ling Xiaoqi shook her head. No, I've moved out. He doesn't know where I live now. Besides, Hua is still at home. I don't feel at ease leaving it alone at home. Then you be careful alone. Su Yiyan said and turned to look at Hua Chenhuan. Hua Chenhuan immediately understood. I'll call a few more people to guard you. Don't worry. Ling Xiaoqi's heart was warmed. She nodded and accepted the couple's kindness. Ling Xiaoqi got up to leave. Ning Xiyuan also stood up. I should go back to find Chirue, so I won't bother you anymore. The group of people left the family hall one after another. Su Yiyan's gaze followed them all the way out. From afar, she saw that Ning Xiyuan seemed to have said something to Ling Xiaoqi, and the two of them got into the same car just like how they came. Su Yiyan? What's wrong? Hua Chenhuan noticed that Su Yiyan had been staring at them with a strange expression. Do you feel that Ning Xiyuan's attitude towards our Xiaoqi isn't right? Is there? No? The two of them stared at each other for a while before Su Yiyan coughed softly and said, maybe it's just my imagination. Although she said that, Su Yiyan's sixth sense had already begun to warn her. She felt that something important was gradually leaving her. Qin Fangde didn't manage to kidnap Ling Xiaoqi and go back to Sea City with him. He also understood that after this incident, the so-called illusion of fatherly love and filial piety in his heart was completely shattered. After returning to the hotel, he lost his temper and smashed everything in his room. He also asked someone to find out who Ling Xiaoqi's bodyguards and the man who ran out to help in the end were. He had already checked. Ling Xiaoqi was single and had been living a hard life with her mother these years. It was impossible for her to know anyone with a big background. Why did so many special factors suddenly appear that he couldn't control? It was really disappointing. Chapter 727. Qin Fangde would never have guessed that it was not that Ling Xiaoqi did not have friends who could protect her, but that she had been used to relying on herself all these years and rarely asked for help from friends. She had known Su Yiyan for so long, but the only time she had asked her for help was when her mother had suddenly fallen ill and needed to be hospitalized for surgery. Unfortunately, even though she had borrowed money from Su Yiyan, her mother had passed away not long after the surgery. Not long after that, Ling Xiaoqi quickly pulled herself together and worked hard to earn money. Finally, she managed to repay all the money she owed Su Yiyan before she returned to China. Qin Fangde had yet to achieve his goal, and he was in a state where he could explode at any time. He was even thinking about how to forcibly bring her home. However, his ideas were destined to never be put into practice. When Qin Fangde sent someone to investigate Ling Xiaoqi and Ning Xiyuan, a phone call from City C ruined all his plans. No one knew what was said on the other end of the phone call. All they knew was that Qin Fangde rushed back to City C that very night and was flustered to deal with all kinds of attacks from his nephews. Even if he managed to hold on, he would definitely be severely injured. It would be impossible for him to cause trouble in front of Ling Xiaoqi in a short period of time. Su Yiyan was very satisfied when she found out. It was fine if Qin Fangde stayed obediently in City C, but if he dared to touch City A again, she would be the first to chop off his claws, even without Hua Chenhuan. After chasing Qin Fangde back to City C, Su Yiyan's hanging heart was temporarily at ease. She focused on preparing for Hua Chenhuan's uncle's welcome banquet. Hua Chenhuan's uncle's surname was Zheng, and his name was Zheng Qianyang. He looked to be in his early 50s, and he was a very handsome and familiar man. The moment Su Yiyan saw him, she understood why her mother had always said that her nephew was Uncle Xiao. Zheng Qianyang looked like a middle-aged version of Hua Chenhuan. The two of them were at least 60 to 70% alike. However, compared to Hua Chenhuan, this powerful figure, who had properties all over the world and had once worked in a special department, looked more weathered and dignified. Just by standing there, his entire body was filled with a chilling aura that kept people thousands of miles away. Hua Chenhuan would never act like this in front of her. Therefore, in Su Yiyan's eyes, the original 60 to 70% resemblance between the two of them was only 50%. While Su Yiyan was sizing up Su Yiyan, Zheng Qianyang was also very curious about his niece-in-law. Yan, right? Hello, I'm Chenhuan's uncle. If you don't mind, you can also call me uncle. Su Yiyan could see Zheng Qianyang's restraint. She guessed that he still hadn't gotten over what had happened that year. In front of Hua Chenhuan, there was always some awkwardness and helplessness. She smiled and said obediently, "Hello, uncle. It must have been hard on you. I specially prepared some food, but I don't know if it's to your liking. It's not early now. Why don't we have a meal first? We can talk later." When Jing Qianyang heard Su Yiyan's words, he was also stunned. He couldn't help but remember that Hua Chenhuan had suddenly sent him a message a few days ago, asking if he had any special preferences. At that time, Jing Qianyang was pleasantly surprised and at a loss. He couldn't figure out what Hua Chenhuan's intention was. Later, he suddenly remembered that the people around Hua Chenhuan seemed to have mentioned that his niece-in-law often cooked and was very good at it. He could roughly guess who had asked him to ask this question. Chapter 728. However, Jing Qianyang wasn't very particular about food. In addition, he was usually busy with work and basically drank nutrient solutions with his subordinates, so he casually replied. He thought that Hua Chenhuan was just asking casually, but now, listening to his niece-in-law's tone, it seemed like she had really specially prepared a welcome banquet for him. Uncle Zhang saw the embarrassment and awkwardness of the uncle and niece. When he heard Su Yiyan's words, he smiled and said, "Young madam's culinary skills can't even compare to the family's chef. Mr. Zhang is in for a treat today." Uncle Zhang was an old man who had served the family Hua for many years, so he naturally knew Jing Qianyang. Hearing him say this, Jing Qianyang's inexplicably tense expression finally relaxed a little, and he replied in a low voice, "Yes." What Jing Qianyang didn't know was that his casual reply back then had only been conveyed to Su Yiyan by his straight-laced nephew. He was not picky about food. This perfunctory reply made Su Yiyan so angry that she laughed. In a fit of anger, she sent Hua Chenhuan to sleep in the guest room for 2 days. Hua Chenhuan, who had been alone in an empty room for 2 days and hadn't slept well, looked at the big table of dishes and Jing Qianyang's gaze, which faintly revealed a deep and cold light. Jing Qianyang? Jing Qianyang, who was inexplicably despised, would never have thought that his tragedy stemmed from a casual remark he made a few days ago. He only thought that Hua Chenhuan's attitude toward him was because she still couldn't let go of what happened in the past, so he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed and sad. Soon, Jing Qianyang didn't have the energy to be sad and think about the depressing past. The most distressing thing in the world was the word, casual. Su Yiyan hesitated for a few days, and when she thought about balding, she finally decided to bring out the almighty Mandarin duck hot pot. Unlike Hua Chenhuan, this was the first time that Jing Qianyang had seen such a novel way of eating. Pointing at the billowing two-colored soup base, he asked curiously, This is called hot pot. It's a type of food from ancient Earth. The red and white soups had different tastes, so the cooked food would naturally taste different as well. Because I didn't know your taste in advance, and I didn't know your preferences and taboos, I prepared this. I hope you don't mind. Of course, another main reason was that Hua Chenhuan couldn't bear to see Su Yiyan running around with a big belly. It didn't take much time or effort to prepare a table full of dishes. The most suitable dish was hot pot. Su Yiyan had made hot pot once before. At that time, they didn't have a double hot pot, so they could only split it into 2 pots and cook it together. Later, when she saw that Gu Xiaoyang and the others liked to eat hot pot, she mentioned that they could organize department gatherings from time to communicate. The best way to have a meal together was to eat hot pot. It was convenient to satisfy most people's tastes. For convenience, they could make a double hot pot like this. The 2 flavors could be combined into 1 pot, and a table full of rich flavors could be eaten in 1 pot. When Gu Xiaoyang and the others heard Su Yiyan's words, they were very excited. When they went back, they asked people to prepare several double hot pots for them. They planned to buy ready-made hot pot base from the restaurant in the future for team building. Of course, they didn't forget to send 1 hot pot over. The double hot pot on the table was sent by Gu Xiaoyang and the others. Su Yiyan demonstrated how to eat hot pot in front of Zheng Qianyang. She also mentioned that a few dishes didn't need to be cooked for too long, and that they wouldn't taste good if they were too old. Then, she let him do it himself. Zheng Qianyang watched for a while and then joined the hot pot team in high spirits. He learned how to cook all kinds of ingredients by himself. Chapter 729. As it turned out, people who looked like each other might have similar tastes as well. Hua Chenhuan liked to eat spicy food, so she usually only ate the spicy side of the hot pot. Zheng Qianyang was the same. At first, he was a little resistant to the bright red spicy hot pot and only ate the clear soup side. Later, he saw that his nephew kept eating the chili oil side. He hesitated for a while and tried to cook a piece of tripe in the chili oil side. At first, he was a little uncomfortable when it entered his mouth. After drinking a few mouthfuls of water, he felt that although the taste was stimulating, the aftertaste was quite strong. Out of curiosity, Zheng Qianyang tried a few more mouthfuls. The result was predictable. After experiencing the wonders of the chili oil, a certain someone no longer reached for the clear soup. He ate until he was sweating, but his hands did not slow down at all. Su Yiyan saw this scene and felt that the uncle and nephew were more and more alike. She could not help but smile a little more. Zheng Qianyang ate for a while and looked up at the two people opposite him. His expression was a little absent-minded for a moment. Su Yiyan was pregnant and could not eat spicy food, so she could only eat the clear soup. Hua Chenhuan watched her from the side and even helped her cook. Sometimes, she would even feed her. Occasionally, Su Yiyan would covet the other side and stare at Hua Chenhuan for a while, and Hua Chenhuan's heart would soften. She would cook one or two things and put them in her bowl to mix with the clear soup. When it was less spicy, she would bring it to Su Yiyan's mouth and watch her eat. One was very happy to be fed, and the other was also very happy to be fed, completely forgetting that there was another person at the table. Zheng Qianyang looked at the two of them and could not help but think of when his sister and brother-in-law were still alive. His brother-in-law also took care of his sister in everything. No matter what he did, he would remember to take care of his sister first before thinking of himself. The two of them had a very good relationship, so every time he visited, he felt relieved and envious. He always hoped that one day he could have such a happy family. Unfortunately, all of this was ruined because of him. Uncle? When Su Yiyan finished eating, she looked up and saw that Zheng Qianyang was in a daze and had not moved his chopsticks for a long time. She asked nervously, "Is it not to your liking? Do you want the kitchen to make something else?" Zheng Qianyang seemed to have woken up from a dream. No, this hot pot is delicious. It's the first time I've eaten something so delicious. Especially the red side. I wasn't used to it at first, but now I think it's getting better and better. Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh when she heard what he said. Chili was something that could be grown quickly. The research institute had already planted a batch of them, and they tasted similar to the ones from Su Yiyan's farm. However, it would take some time for it to be on the market. This should be Zheng Qianyang's first time coming into contact with such a thing. His reaction was similar to that of Hua Chenhuan. It seems that uncle's taste is similar to Chenhuan's. He also likes spicy food. As soon as she said this, the two men at the dinner table were stunned. Their eyes inadvertently met, and there seemed to be something that wasn't there before. Su Yiyan pretended not to see it. She smiled and reminded them, "Although this chili oil soup is delicious, you can't eat too much. It's easy to get heaty. Uncle, remember to drink some of this 3-flower tea later. It's good for cooling down." When Zheng Qianyang heard this, he was even more touched by Su Yiyan's thoughtfulness. He was also happy that his nephew had good taste and married such a considerate wife. With Su Yiyan mediating between them, the atmosphere at the dinner table gradually warmed up. Zheng Qianyang also had some confidence to ask about the two's situation. How old is the child? Almost 6 months. Do you know whether it's a boy or a girl? I don't know yet. Chapter 730. Su Yiyan turned to look at Hua Chenhuan and smiled. We all think that it's the same whether it's a boy or a girl. Just let nature take its course. Zheng Qianyang nodded. He had just asked casually and did not mean anything else. It was fine as long as the two of them knew what they were talking about. By the time Zheng Qianyang arrived, it was already dark. It was already late after dinner. Su Yiyan knew that Zheng Qianyang had a house in the city, but it was a little far from where they lived. Even if he went back now, the house might not have been cleaned beforehand for him to move in immediately. Hence, he took advantage of the situation and invited Zheng Qianyang to stay at his house. They would be under the same roof and they would see each other frequently. Sooner or later, he would be able to resolve the awkward relationship between the two of them. Zheng Qianyang did not intend to stay, but when he heard that Su Yiyan wanted him to stay temporarily, he subconsciously glanced at Hua Chenhuan. Seeing that he didn't object, she unexpectedly agreed as if she was at the mercy of gods and devils. Considering that Zheng Qianyang must be tired from the long journey, Su Yiyan asked Uncle Zhang to take him upstairs to rest after dinner. Uncle Zhang was obviously very happy with Zheng Qianyang's arrival. The smile on his face did not fade at all. He led Zheng Qianyang to the guest room that had been prepared beforehand. Uncle Zhang did not forget to smile and say, "This is the room that young master and young madam specially prepared for you. The basic daily necessities are all in there. If you need anything else, you can let me know. I will do my best to help you." Thank you for your hard work." "You're welcome, sir. If there's nothing else, you should rest early." Zheng Qianyang nodded. Just as he was about to close the door, he heard Uncle Zhang call out, "Sir. Is there anything else?" Uncle Zhang looked at the familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar man who had been away from home for more than 10 years. He said sincerely, "Welcome home." Zheng Qianyang's whole body trembled, and he subconsciously tightened his grip on the door handle. His eyes revealed a rare hint of emotion. Zheng Qianyang was no stranger to the guest room of the family Hua mansion. When Hua Chenhuan's parents were still alive, he often stayed over. Even when Hua Chenhuan was just born, there was a period of time when the two adults were rather busy. Moreover, due to their old age and lack of energy, he was the one who helped take care of her. Zheng Qianyang walked around the room, and his gaze suddenly fell on the photo placed on the bedside table. It was a group photo of the four of them. The corners of the photo were slightly yellowed. It should have been found recently and seen the light of day again. The four people in the photo were Hua Chenhuan's parents, Hua Chenhuan when she was still a child, and himself when he was young. This photo was taken on Hua Chenhuan's 5th birthday, and it was also the only photo of the four of them. He didn't expect it to be found and placed in this room. Looking at the photo, Zheng Qianyang thought about the peaceful dinner tonight and the words Uncle Zhang had said before he left. The mask on Zheng Qianyang's face was peeling off bit by bit, and his eyes reddened uncontrollably. After an unknown period of time, a vague and hoarse voice vaguely came from the spacious but dense room. "Sister, brother-in-law, I'm back." Zheng Qianyang was a little emotional because of the photo in the room. Little did he know that in another room about 10 meters away from him, his nephew was also being criticized and educated by his wife. "You behaved badly today. I have to educate you properly." "How did I behave badly today?" Hua Chenhuan didn't have the good virtue of knowing that she was wrong. She even slyly leaned over to Su Yiyan and kissed her. She said meaningfully, "Also, how are you going to educate me?" Chapter 731. Su Yiyan blushed and glared at Hua Chenhuan angrily. She was determined not to be seduced by a certain someone's beauty. What did I tell you before? It's rare for uncle to come, so we have to treat him well. Besides, you were also at fault for what happened back then. You're a junior, so you have to speak first to ease the tension. But you. Su Yiyan snorted coldly. She was a little angry. When Jing Qianyang came today, Hua Chenhuan held back for a long time and didn't say more than 3 words. She was the one who dealt with it the whole time. Did this uncle belong to her alone? She really couldn't have this husband anymore. Hua Chenhuan also knew that she was in the wrong. She touched her nose awkwardly and said, I also wanted to speak first, but. Hua Chenhuan was silent. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and said, You can't speak? Hua Chenhuan felt guilty under her gaze. He coughed softly and said, He doesn't seem to want to talk to me, but he has a lot to say to you. Su Yiyan was very familiar with this sour tone. She almost laughed out of anger. She hadn't even said anything, but this guy was actually blaming her. Look at your cold face, as if someone owes you millions. Who wouldn't be afraid in front of you? Su Yiyan couldn't help but roll her eyes. She said in disappointment, Besides, uncle is an elder. Do you expect him to apologize to you first? Or are you still blaming him in your heart, thinking that he harmed your parents? No. Then why are you still like this? Hua Chenhuan pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Su Yiyan guessed his thoughts. Sometimes, the more you don't speak, the more you can't speak. If you lack the opportunity and courage, you can't kick the door open. You can only wait. Can't you be a good role model for our baby? It's fine if it's a girl, but if it's a boy who's as pretentious and two-faced as you, which girl will be willing to marry him in the future? Hua Chenhuan stared blankly for a moment, then said proudly, I married you. The hidden meaning was that no matter how much I said I didn't mean it, didn't I still marry the best? My son will definitely be able to marry a good woman like me in the future. Don't worry. She was obviously speaking in a disdainful tone, yet this fellow was actually feeling proud of himself. Su Yiyan was both angry and amused. That's because I'm thick-skinned. If it were other girls, they would have been scared away by your initial words. Thinking back to the first time they met alone, what did this guy say to her? What kind of leg can only be like this for the rest of my life and I won't be able to have children in the future? He was so honest that it was infuriating. If it wasn't for the fact that she was already dead set on marrying him, if it were any other girl, she might have really been scared away. Marrying a wife? Dream on. Is that so? Hua Chenhuan obviously also thought of the words he said to Su Yiyan when she first came to the old mansion. His eyes flashed, and he immediately leaned over, hugged Su Yiyan, and kissed her fiercely. Of course, this so-called kiss lasted a little long. When he let go, Su Yiyan's little face was still as red as a ripe peach. Humph, don't think that you can fool me by using your handsome man today. If you still do this tomorrow, you'll continue to sleep in the guest room for the next few days. The smile on Hua Chenhuan's face suddenly froze. He thought dangerously in his heart, sure enough, the kiss didn't last long enough. How could she still be in the mood to think about this? Chapter 732. When Su Yiyan was still in the Su family, she was a veritable princess. Even if the decisions she made were not immediately accepted, they would definitely be realized in the end. This fine tradition was perfectly passed down by Hua Chenhuan. The next morning, Su Yiyan got up early and had breakfast. She used the excuse of going to Ling Xiaoqi's place to see the Huahua and went out with the baby Huahua, giving the uncle and nephew, who were still at odds with each other, some private space to resolve their conflict. The gestation time of a dog was similar to that of a cat. Generally, a dog would give birth after 2 or 3 months. 10 days ago, the Huahua gave birth to 3 cute corgi puppies, 1 baby Huahua and 2 baby Dun Dun. Su Yiyan liked the baby Huahua very much. As soon as the puppies were born, she wanted to bring them home. However, considering that she was pregnant, it would not be easy to take care of them if she brought them home, so she left them at Ling Xiaoqi's place. In a few months, when Su Yiyan gave birth to the babies, these puppies would also grow up. Then, she would bring them home to accompany her babies. After Su Yiyan left, there was no one to smooth things over. The two men, who looked similar, sat in the hall and stared at each other, unable to say anything for a long time. Uncle Zhang was anxious and wanted to laugh at the same time. However, when he thought of Su Yiyan's instructions before she left, no matter how anxious he was, he did not step forward to smooth things over. The two of them sat like this for a long time. In the end, it was Zheng Qianyang who broke the silence first. Your injury was treated by Yan Yan. It was not a question, but a confirmation. It meant that even if he was abroad, he had been paying attention to Hua Chenhuan's movements. He was not completely ignoring him. Hua Chenhuan naturally knew this. When he was first injured, he did not have the ability to protect himself. If it were not for the people Zheng Qianyang left around him, he would have been killed by those demons and ghosts before he could really become strong. Yes. She's a good girl. She cured you and now, she's pregnant with your child. Zheng Qianyang knew that Hua Chenhuan was unlikely to have a child because of the accident. Apart from a few people, Zheng Qianyang knew about it as well. Back then, Hua Chenhuan's parents and Hua Chenhuan had met with an accident one after another. Hua Qihan's family could not be counted on. Their hospitalization procedures and follow-up treatment were basically handled by Zheng Qianyang himself. Zheng Qianyang knew better than anyone else what had happened to Hua Chenhuan at that time. Therefore, when Zheng Qianyang found out that Hua Chenhuan's new wife was pregnant, his first reaction was not joy, but shock and anger. He felt that Su Yiyan must have cheated on Hua Chenhuan for her to be able to get pregnant. Hua Chenhuan, who was made a cuckold out of the blue. Why does everyone think that I should be made a cuckold? Do you all have some misunderstanding about my personal charm? Fortunately, although Zheng Qianyang was angry, he did not act rashly. Instead, he first sent people to investigate the members of the opposite sex who had contact with Su Yiyan. In the end, after half a month of investigation, he found that the members of the opposite sex who had contact with Su Yiyan were either her company's employees or her employees' family members. Putting aside the employees, Hua Chenhuan was also present when several of her business partners met. It could be said that there was no loophole in all aspects. It was also at this time that Zheng Qianyang finally believed that not only had Hua Chenhuan's legs recovered, but he had also recovered from a certain injury. He even had a child with his wife. Hearing Zheng Qianyang praise Su Yiyan, Hua Chenhuan's tense expression eased a little. She said softly, "In my eyes, she's the best person in the world." Chapter 733. Zheng Qianyang noticed the change in Hua Chenhuan's expression. He was gratified, but also a little disappointed. After Hua Chenhuan's parents passed away, Hua Chenhuan was his only family in this world. Originally, the two of them depended on each other and treated each other as family. Now that Hua Chenhuan had his own happy little family, Zheng Qianyang was still all alone. It was inevitable that Zheng Qianyang would feel a little lonely. Hua Chenhuan seemed to have noticed the vulnerability that Zheng Qianyang inadvertently revealed. She suddenly realized that the man she had once admired and resented was no longer young. Time had not treated the man in front of her well. His sideburns had been stained with frost, and there were many wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. Perhaps in a few years, the straight back of the man in front of her would gradually become bent, and his mind would gradually become blurry. He would remember some people, but most of the time, he would forget some people. Realizing this, Hua Chenhuan suddenly felt that many things were not so important. Sorry. The words that had been in her mouth the day before, and she could not say no matter how hard she tried. The moment she said them, she realized that it did not seem as difficult as she had imagined. Zheng Qianyang was stunned for a few seconds before he realized what Hua Chenhuan had said. His eyes suddenly widened. Some things only needed to be said once the first sentence was said, and the rest would be much simpler. When my parents died, I lost control of my emotions and made trouble for no reason. I blamed their death on you. It was my fault. Zheng Qianyang's heart skipped a beat. He subconsciously called out, Chenhuan, whether my parents' death was an accident or man-made, it doesn't matter. You were not the one who hurt them, and the one who needs to pay the price for atonement is not you. Zheng Qianyang was completely stunned. He hoped that he could restore his relationship with Hua Chenhuan and become family again, but he was also afraid that all this was just his wishful dream. After a long while, he finally found his voice and said with difficulty, "Do you really think so? You know, it's very likely that your parents were implicated by me." Hua Chenhuan stared at Zheng Qianyang for a long time and sighed softly. "I've thought about it for a long time. If my parents knew that they died because of you, would they blame you?" Zheng Qianyang's body stiffened, and his face suddenly turned pale. "No." "What?" "The answer is no," Hua Chenhuan said with absolute certainty. "Even if they knew that their deaths might have something to do with you, even if they knew that those who harmed them might be your enemies, they would not blame you. In that case, what right do I have to blame you?" "No. You have the right to blame me." Chenhuan's eyes as a child. Was as a child. Hua Chenhuan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was a hint of relief in his eyes. Yan said that you shouldn't punish yourself with other people's sins because it will only make the people who love you sad and the people who hurt you happy. I am, and so are you. Of course, Zheng Qianyang knew this. But sometimes, it was easy for people to walk into a dead end. Hua Chenhuan's hateful gaze back then had become a demon that had haunted him for many years. He would even suddenly wake up from his dreams in the middle of the night. After that, he would not be able to fall asleep again. He would sit there night after night until dawn. He wanted to come back, but he didn't dare to. He was afraid that he would meet his nephew's hateful gaze the moment he came back. But now, this nephew, whom he knew he owed a lot, was telling him that none of this was his fault, and that he had stopped blaming him a long time ago. Zheng Qianyang wanted to laugh, but before he could smile, his eyes had already turned red. Chapter 734. By the time Su Yiyan came back, the two of them had pretty much finished talking. After a frank and open discussion, the two of them who had untangled the knot in their hearts were no longer as reserved and awkward as before. "Even though I've been away for the past few years, I roughly know a lot of things that have happened around you. I want to help you, but I'm worried that you'll still hate me and won't want my help." He could only secretly help her. Hua Chenhuan knew what he meant. Zheng Qianyang thought that no one knew about his little trick. But in reality, he had already discovered it a few years ago. He just didn't want to expose it. It was clearly just a thin layer of gauze. As long as one of them took the initiative to take a step forward, there would be a chance to turn things around. But no one was willing to be the first to take a step forward. "I thought that you would never forgive me in this lifetime. I didn't expect that you would actually take the initiative to apologize to me." Zheng Qianyang knew Hua Chenhuan's temperament. Before this, he never thought that he would forgive him. Even if he did, given his temperament, he definitely wouldn't take the initiative to admit defeat. The best outcome Zheng Qianyang could think of was that the two of them wouldn't interfere with each other and would be strangers for the rest of their lives. Who would have thought? When Hua Chenhuan heard him say this, she looked up at him and said calmly, Yan said. When Zheng Qianyang heard these three words, his eyelids twitched for some reason. He had a feeling that there was a huge secret behind this. Sure enough, the next second, Hua Chenhuan said, "If I don't talk to you properly, I'll have to sleep in the guest room for the next few days." Zheng Qianyang? After all this time, you're actually a henpecked husband? It's fine if you're a henpecked husband, but why do you sound so proud of yourself when you say this? It seems that a henpecked husband like you is quite proud of himself. Zheng Qianyang tried to hold it in, but he couldn't hold it in any longer. He said dryly, if your mom and dad knew that you were so obedient to your wife, they would be very pleased. How could Hua Chenhuan not hear the slight jealousy in her uncle's words? She glanced at him lightly and said, if my mom and dad knew that you were still alone at such an old age, they would definitely despise you. Zheng Qianyang? The single dog instantly received a critical hit from the couple. Uncle Zheng, who had been scolded by his junior, tried to save his dignity. I didn't want to look for it, not that I couldn't find it. That was true. The Zheng family's business was overseas, and its scale was comparable to Hua Chenhuan's when her father was still alive. Therefore, when Hua Chenhuan's parents got married, it could be said that they were well matched in terms of social status. It was a much-told story. As the only heir of the Zheng family at that time, Zheng Qianyang was recognized as a young talent in the social circle. He was also handsome, so it was not hard to imagine how many rich girls secretly admired him and secretly wanted to marry him. However, Zheng Qianyang was young and rebellious. He didn't learn the playful habits of other rich playboys his age. Instead, he chose the most dangerous career. His family was furious, but they couldn't do anything about it. Zheng Qianyang didn't look for a girlfriend at first because he thought that he was too young. Moreover, what he was doing was dangerous, so he didn't want a girl to be with him and live in fear. He didn't know when she would lose her boyfriend and husband. Later, after the family Hua incident, Zheng Qianyang gave up on this idea. He went abroad to take over the Zheng family's business and set up his own international company. However, he still had to hide to avoid alerting the enemy. How could he be in the mood to date a woman and let her accompany him through the ups and downs of danger? Chapter 735. Hua Chenhuan obviously knew what Zheng Qianyang was thinking, but that didn't stop her from mocking him. Zheng Qianyang. Is this still my obedient and cute little nephew? Time is indeed a butcher's knife. Su Yiyan came back at this time. As soon as she entered, she saw uncle and nephew sitting in the living room, about 3 meters apart. One was dejected and the other was cold. What's going on? She had already made time for these two, so why did they still look so dead when they came back? No, they looked worse than before she left. So, did the two of them have a breakdown? Before Su Yiyan could think further, a loud stomach growl broke the awkward silence in the room. Zheng Qianyang's face turned red, but when he thought of the hot pot they had last night, soft and fragrant stewed taro, crisp and refreshing cucumbers, fresh and delicious seafood, plump and tender mushrooms, and all kinds of chewy and fragrant beef products, even though Zheng Qianyang wasn't very particular about food, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva at the thought of it. He turned to look at Su Yiyan and asked eagerly, Yan, are we still eating the same hot pot as last night? Su Yiyan. Fine, he already knew to ask her for food. That was a big improvement. However, no matter how much they liked hot pot, they couldn't eat it every day, especially when these two guys were purely spicy. If they ate it every day, no matter how much soup or tea she made for them, it would be useless. In the end, Su Yiyan was especially cold and ruthless. She rejected Zheng Qianyang's suggestion to continue eating hot pot and instead prepared lychee meat, eggplant with garlic sauce, cold cucumber salad, and other dishes for them. After hesitating for a long time, she finally felt a little compassion and added spicy boiled fish. Zheng Qianyang was a little disappointed that he couldn't eat the hot pot, but when the spicy boiled fish was added, he was instantly captivated. He found out that although these dishes were made by the family's chef, the specific recipes were taught by Su Yiyan. Zheng Qianyang, who had always been the child of others, tasted sour lemons for the first time. His nephew had married such a capable wife. What kind of heavenly life was he living every day? Hua Qinhuan didn't know that because of a few dishes, she had become a winner in life that even her uncle envied. After untying the knot in his heart, Zheng Qianyang settled down at the family Hua mansion with a clear conscience. Usually, he would not stay at home during the day. He would only come back at dinner time and at night. As for Hua Qinhuan, it was unknown if she had already cooperated with Hua Xiaofeng to obtain the so-called evidence in his hands. She had been quite busy recently and often went out. Su Yiyan was bored at home alone and could only watch the show. The drama in Hua Xiaofeng's house was coming to an end. It was no longer interesting. Su Yiyan could only change her target and eat the drama in high E. To be precise, she ate the drama in Wen Jingping's production team. It was obvious that Wen Jingping had instigated Dou Tianyi to poach Pan Yuan. She had also deliberately made the Empress to extort Red Dancer. She was trying her best to get back at Su Yiyan for all the losses she had suffered previously. Because of this, Red Dancer was still busy casting, but the production team of the Empress was already in full swing. Hai Yi had a good plan. The sooner they finished shooting, edited, and submitted for approval, the sooner they could seize the opportunity and occupy the market first. No matter what industry it was, there was a limit to the acceptance of the same type of thing. Chapter 736. Take palace dramas as an example. One palace drama was amazing, and two palace dramas were memorable. 3, 4, 5, or even hundreds of palace dramas, no matter how good something was, no matter how novel it was, it would be used countless times, and the audience would be tired of it. Hai Yi's move was nothing more than to let the Empress be released before Red Brave, to take advantage of the timing, take its advantage, and put Dongqing Entertainment at a disadvantage. However, they obviously forgot the old saying, haste makes waste. Less than a month after the filming started, there was a big fight between the female lead and the second female lead. Hai Yi's love for Wen Jingping could be said to be true. They knew that Wen Jingping had a lot of previous scandals, but they waited until all the scandals were dealt with before announcing Wen Jingping's identity as the female lead. Unfortunately, the internet had memories. Even if the reports related to Wen Jingping had been deleted, it had only been a year at most, but there were still many people who knew about her previous incident. Especially when Wen Jingping took her boyfriend to Dongqing Entertainment to find Su Yiyan for a fight. The story of the mistress bringing her ex-fiancé to Dongqing Entertainment and being slapped in the face by the ex-fiancé was very interesting and satisfying. They thought that the mistress's entertainment career would be over. Who would have thought that in just a year, she would come back from the ashes? Not only was she signed into a big company, but she was also the female lead of a big company's big production. Dongqing Entertainment's public relations department was not to be trifled with. Wen Jingping's identity was originally a hidden bomb. Now that this bomb had been thrown out, if they did not take advantage of this opportunity to detonate this bomb, how could they be worthy of the previous incident? As a result, the feud between Wen Jingping and Dongqing Entertainment's boss was pulled out, and the previous incident of the Empress extorting Red Brave was also pulled out. It would have been fine if these two matters were not put together. Now that they were put together, many people's imaginations were already running wild, and they imagined the grudges and grievances hidden in this little episode. In view of the fact that Wen Jingping had dragged her ex-fiancé to cause trouble for her ex-fiancé, and that it was Hai Yi who had first blackmailed Dongqing, this matter seemed like a certain green TB*TCH who had gotten her way and was pretentious to cause trouble for her ex-fiancé. All of a sudden, the comments section under the Empress and Hai Yi's official account were flooded with comments. People from all walks of life were arguing and criticizing the show. Everything that had happened to Red Brave had now been returned to the production team of Queen. It could be considered an eye for an eye. Compared to the PR department of East Jade City who took this opportunity to wipe away their previous humiliation, the PR department of Hai Yi Arts was going crazy. Although they had already prepared for a tough battle before the crew announced the female lead role, they still had a lot of things to worry about. However, as a newcomer, Wen Jingping had really stepped on all the landmines that a newcomer could step on. Although they complained, they were all employees of High E Arts, and this woman was obviously someone that the boss wanted to protect. They could only pinch their noses and do their best to help with the PR. However, not everyone was angry with Wen Jingping, but they did not dare to say anything. Zhuo Wanshu was the most popular among the new generation of female artists in High E Arts. She had a sweet appearance and a straightforward personality. She had been pursued by countless fans since her debut, and in a few years, she had grown into one of the few big stars. Other artists were afraid of being left out and without resources, but her schedule was full 24 hours a day. She was almost non-stop, and rarely had time to spare. Chapter 737. When the discussion started online, Zhuo Wanshu and Wen Jingping were filming a scene where they fell into the water. It was the beginning of winter, and the weather was cold. The water was already cold, and it was even colder at night. However, Wen Jingping's acting wasn't good, and they had to drag the scene 7 or 8 times. Zhuo Wanshu kept touching up, falling into the water, touching up, and falling into the water again. Her face turned green. In the end, the director couldn't stand it anymore and asked Zhuo Wanshu to take a rest while he scolded Wen Jingping with a loudspeaker. Wanshu. Zhuo Wanshu's manager had been watching from the side. When the director called for a break, she immediately rushed over with a blanket and wrapped Zhuo Wanshu up. "Are you okay? Hurry up and warm yourself up. I asked Xiao Wang to buy some ginger soup for you. You'll be fine after drinking it." Zhuo Wanshu's lips and face were blue from the cold. After drinking the ginger soup, she felt better and hugged the stove that her assistant brought over. Zhuo Wanshu's manager had been taking care of her since she entered the entertainment industry. Seeing her like this, she was both distressed and angry. The company's higher-ups must have lost their minds to let such a half-baked person be the main lead and even let you play her supporting role. They've gone too far. Sister Ming, don't say too much. Although Zhuo Wanshu was angry, there were too many people in the crew. She couldn't guarantee that no one would hear her and cause trouble. She's already in this state. Why can't she say it? Look at how many people in the production crew are interested in her. Sister Ming glanced at Wen Jingping, who was tearing up from being scolded by Pan Yuan. She looked like she had suffered a great grievance but was pretending to be strong. Sister Ming was even more furious. You have a good temper. If you had been more stubborn and rejected this script, how could there be so many messy things happening? Zhuo Wanshu pursed her lips as a cold light flashed through her eyes. How can it be so easy to reject? Half a year ago, she had just finished filming an advertisement and was discussing with her manager about rejecting a few unnecessary jobs to rest for 2 days when she received a notice from the company. She was asked to act in a television drama that the company was investing in, to nurse a newcomer who had just joined the company. When Zhuo Wanshu and her manager heard this, they knew that this newcomer had some background. Although they were a little unwilling, they still accepted it. Originally, he thought that even if Zhuo Wanshu was a newbie in the milk company, with her current status, even if she was not the main character, she would at least have a special role. In the end, she was given the role of the second female lead to act as a supporting actress for this newcomer. When Zhuo Wanshu and her manager returned to the company and saw the script, their faces darkened. However, due to the pressure from the higher-ups, they signed the contract in the end. It would be fine if Wen Jingping's acting skills were better, but in fact, she was just a small streamer on a live broadcast platform a year ago. She was a real layman in the acting world. Even with the protagonist aura, she had learned more than the average person in the past few months. However, in front of a group of seniors who were older than her, it was still not enough. In addition, in order to seize the initiative, High E Art had started production early. For Wen Jingping, it felt like she was forcing a duck onto a perch. The consequences were obvious. After a month of filming, the crew was on the verge of exploding every day. The atmosphere was terrifying. The actors and even the staff were all depressed. How could their work efficiency be high? Ah! As the two were talking, they suddenly heard a cry of surprise. They looked over and saw that it was Zhuo Wanshu's assistant, Xiao Wang. Chapter 738. Sister Ming looked at Xiao Wang and frowned. She asked softly, "What's wrong?" Xiao Wang hesitated for a moment before telling them what he had just seen. After Zhuo Wanshu and Sister Ming heard this, their expressions became even more subtle. They looked at Wen Jingping with more curiosity and disdain. Is this true? Or is the media purposely spreading rumors? It should be true. I asked my cousin who is a fan of celebrities. She said that she had seen Miss Wen's scandal before. Apparently, there were pictures and videos of that incident. There was no way to turn the tables. Unfortunately, it seems that all those things have been deleted. I also heard that. Xiao Wang looked around. After making sure that no one was around, he leaned closer to the two and said, "That family Hui young master was kicked out of his company for some reason and lost his inheritance rights. Miss Wen broke up with him soon after. Who would have thought that she would enter high-E entertainment a few months after they broke up? And they were both in the industry and weren't fools. They could guess what was going on from Xiao Wang's words. Previously, they had guessed that Wen Jingping might be a relative of one of the company's executives. Otherwise, why would they spend so much money to get her such a huge resource? Now, it seemed that she wasn't a relative. She was clearly a boss's lover. Zhuo Wanshu's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. The fire in her heart couldn't help but rise. If it weren't for the fact that he had been in the industry for so many years and his sharp edges had been smoothed out, he would have already shed all pretense of cordiality on the spot and left. At that time, not many people in the crew knew about the news on the internet. After Pan Yuan scolded Wen Jingping, he went to look for Zhuo Wanshu. Sister Ming knew what he was thinking, so before he could say anything, she said, "Director Pan, it's really cold today. Wanshu has jumped back and forth almost 10 times. Look at her face, it's so pale. I'm worried that her body will have problems if she continues to freeze like this. Why don't we stop here for today? I'll take her back to see a doctor." Pan Yuan was stunned. He looked at Zhuo Wanshu. Her eyes were drooping, her face was abnormally pale, and she looked weak. Looking at her condition, it was unlikely that there would be any good effects if they continued to shoot. Moreover, today's matter was not Zhuo Wanshu's fault. He was also worried that he would have to bear the responsibility if she really fell ill. He sighed and said, "All right, it's already very late. You should take Wanshu back first. Don't let her freeze." Sister Ming hastily nodded and left with Zhuo Wanshu. What everyone didn't know was that as soon as they left the set, someone had already taken a picture of Zhuo Wanshu's pale face. Not long after the announcement that Wen Jingping was going to be the female lead of the TV series was announced, some well-connected internet users found out that the second female lead of the TV series was actually the famous flower Zhuo Wanshu. This time, they had poked a hornet's nest. Who was Wen Jingping? They had never heard of her before. It was said that she had been a mistress and had harmed her teammates during a talent show. Such a vicious green tea white lotus, even if their family's Shu was to be her partner, she would still be worthy. As the old saying goes, if you want to wear a crown, you have to bear its weight. According to the original plot, Wen Jingping had walked step by step from a supporting role to a leading role. Even if her acting wasn't good at the beginning, there would still be a leading role to share the blame. As a supporting role, even if she was scolded, she wouldn't be scolded too badly. However, she was going to be the female lead of a big production. She didn't give anyone a chance to take a breather. She was just short of blatantly telling everyone that she had invested in the production and had a backer. Who else would they scold if not her? Chapter 739. Not long after Zhuo Wanshu was exposed as a supporting actress for a newcomer, a certain media outlet released a piece of news. Hi's newcomer has a big background. Famous actress Zhuo Wanshu fell into the water and froze for 2 hours. This piece of news caused an uproar among the crew. Zhuo Wanshu's fans were still angry that their idol was forced to be a supporting actress for a newcomer with no previous works. When they saw this piece of news, they almost exploded with anger. This piece of news even included a picture of Zhuo Wanshu's pale face when she got out of the water, as well as a short video of her being helped out of the set by her manager and assistant. In the video, Zhuo Wanshu's pale face and wobbly body poked at the hearts of many fans, making them even more worried and angry. "I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Shushu's face is so pale that she can't even stand properly. Is the crew shooting a movie or trying to murder her? I just saw a piece of news saying that a certain female lead's acting skills are bad and caused Shushu to jump more than 10 times. In this kind of weather, jumping once is bad enough, let alone more than 10 times? Are you sure she didn't do it on purpose? F***ck, even if she didn't do it on purpose, it only shows that her acting skills are bad. How can she be the female lead if she doesn't have any acting skills? If she doesn't have any skills, she shouldn't take on this job. Is she proud of herself for causing others to suffer? Or is she doing it on purpose because she's jealous of our Shushu's popularity and wants to harm her? What's the background of this woman? A rich second-generation heir? Someone with connections? Shushu is being bullied like this. Are the crew and the management company all dead? Don't they know how to stop her? What rich second-generation heir? It's more like she's good at hooking rich second-generation heirs. This woman was the one who cheated on Dong Cheng's boss, Mr. Su. She even brought her scumbag to his ex-fiancée. She's a ruthless character. Who knows which boss of Art she crawled into bed and coaxed him to let her be the female lead. She even asked Shushu to be her supporting character. Trash company. How much money has Shushu earned for the company over the years? In the end, they let her be a stepping stone just to promote this piece of trash. What a heartless company. When this piece of news came out, Zhuo Wanshu's fans were completely pissed off. They were on the front lines of cursing Wen Jingping. Because of this, she even dragged Hai out and scolded them. The public relations department didn't expect that before they were done with their public relations, there would be such a big issue of internal strife in the production team. Under such pressure, he could only get someone to call Zhuo Wanshu's manager and ask her to clarify the matter and suppress it. When Sister Ming received the call, Zhuo Wanshu was running a high fever. Zhuo Wanshu had been working hard for the past 2 years, so her body was weak. Now that he was soaked in water, his body collapsed and he was a little dazed from the fever. Sister Ming was so angry that she almost smashed her phone when she received the company's order, for them to work with the crew to release a statement to protect Wen Jingping. When Zhuo Wanshu heard Sister Ming arguing with the other party, she felt a chill in her heart. Although she had expected such an outcome, she was already burning up like this. Not only did the company not show any concern on the surface, but they were also in such a hurry to ask her to help clarify the rumors outside. It was clear at a glance which was more important and which was more important. When a person was sick, they would be especially fragile and overthink things. If Zhuo Wanshu had not been sick, she would have endured it no matter how dissatisfied she was. Chapter 740. However, at this time, Zhuo Wanshu really couldn't take it lying down. She had never been a good-tempered person. All these years, if it weren't for the fact that High-E Entertainment had her contract in their hands and that her agent had been helping her deal with things on her behalf, she would have torn some people apart long ago. This matter was the fuse and the straw that broke the camel's back. The anger that Zhuo Wanshu had been accumulating for a long time suddenly exploded. Release. What? Sister Ming turned to look at Zhuo Wanshu in surprise. Zhuo Wanshu's face was still red from her high fever, but her eyes were unexpectedly sharp. If they want you to release, then release. Negotiate with the crew. I want to leave the cast. Leave the cast? Xiao Wang and Sister Ming exclaimed at the same time. Then the penalty. Not much. Hai-E had originally invested in this drama. Perhaps because they believed that their artists wouldn't cause any trouble, they had loosened the conditions for signing an actor's contract. Although the penalty wasn't a small amount, it wasn't an astronomical figure for Zhuo Wanshu. Of course, she had also wanted to use this incident to test the company. If the crew really insisted that she pay the penalty, then Zhuo Wanshu was angry. Sister Ming hesitated. But the company. I only have half a year left on my contract. Even if I'm frozen, it won't be for long. Zhuo Wanshu couldn't help but cough. Her heart-wrenching cough made people feel sorry for her. She only had half a year left on her contract. More than a month ago, the company had already asked Sister Ming to negotiate with her about renewing her contract. Zhuo Wanshu still hadn't renewed her contract because of this incident. If the company didn't care about this and fell out with her because of Wen Jingping, then there was no need for her to stay. I want to see if the company will really freeze me because of this. If it really came to that, then there was nothing left for her to stay. Zhuo Wanshu's agent quickly contacted the crew and tactfully told them that Zhuo Wanshu wanted to terminate her contract with the crew. Of course, the crew didn't agree. They even contacted Hai-E to put pressure on Zhuo Wanshu. However, to everyone's surprise, after receiving Pan Yuan's call, Hai-E Art didn't directly give a definite answer. They only said that they would negotiate with Zhuo Wanshu. As a result, early the next morning, Hai-E gave them a reply. Using Zhuo Wanshu's physical condition as an excuse, they hoped that the crew could accept her resignation. Hai-E would also be responsible for the crew's losses during this period. Many people in the crew were shocked by this outcome. Even Zhuo Wanshu and her manager felt that something was wrong. However, since the company had already relented, they didn't have to be overly cautious. Their confidence was instantly boosted. The next morning, Zhuo Wanshu's manager made a post. The general content was that Zhuo Wanshu had to leave the cast of Empress due to a sudden illness. She thanked the crew for their care during this period of time and expressed her regret that she could not continue working with them. She hoped that there would be a chance to work together again in the future. Blah blah blah, a bunch of polite words. It was obvious that this was an official speech. Although the post emphasized that Zhuo Wanshu had a sudden illness and needed to rest for a period of time before leaving the cast, her fans obviously didn't buy it. The media had just revealed that their little fairy had been bullied on set and soaked in cold water for an hour or two on a cold day, and now she suddenly fell ill? Did he really think that everyone was a fool? Chapter 741. She had said so much nonsense. In the end, the illness was fake, and she was frozen to death. Once this post was posted, the fans did not stop. Instead, they scolded even more fiercely. Some fans even tried to persuade Zhuo Wanshu to transfer to Dongcheng after her contract expired. It was easy to compare similar companies. Look at how protective other companies are and how much they respect their old artists and employees. Then look at your company. TSK TSK TSK, Su Yiyan laughed so hard that she almost choked. She felt that her company owed Hai-E Entertainment advertising fees. Every time, no matter what they did, the advertisements would come to their company. However, Hai-E Entertainment's actions were beyond Su Yiyan's expectations. She thought that since they were all in the same company, no matter how fierce the private fights were, they would not come out in the open. Now, it seemed that she was naive. However, Wen Jingping's reputation, which she had tried so hard to salvage, was ruined even more. She was probably going to die from anger. Wen Jingping was indeed going crazy. Not long after Zhuo Wanshu left, she left as well. Before she left, the director told her to go back and study the script. He also threatened to delete her scenes if she did not do it properly the next day. Wen Jingping was so angry that she wanted to call Dou Tianyi to complain. However, she could not get through. In the end, she was so angry that she fell asleep. The next morning, as soon as she entered the set, she felt that everyone was looking at her strangely. Even her assistant looked like she wanted to say something. Wen Jingping was confused. She thought that it was because of yesterday's consecutive NGs until her agent came to her and told her what happened last night. Wen Jingping's first reaction was to ask Dou Tianyi for help. However, before she could make the call, she received news that Zhuo Wanshu had quit due to illness. Wen Jingping's heart suddenly thumped. She finally sensed that something was wrong. Zhuo Wanshu was an artist under Hai-E Entertainment. Hai-E Entertainment was the biggest investor in this drama. Without Hai-E Entertainment's permission, she would not have dared to quit the set. She began to call Dou Tianyi like a madwoman, but either no one picked up or the line was busy. Wen Jingping's heart gradually turned cold. She did not understand why Dou Tianyi would suddenly give her the cold shoulder. Or rather, even she didn't notice that the other party had started to neglect her at some point. Wen Jingping wasn't the only one who had doubts. Many of Hai Art's internal staff also had the same doubts. When the head of the public relations department, Pu Yi, found out that Zhuo Wanshu wanted to terminate her contract with the production team, he immediately reported this matter to the people around the big boss. She originally thought that the other party would force Zhuo Wanshu to stay on the set and continue filming. She also thought that the other party would unconditionally clarify the rumors about Wen Jingping. Unexpectedly, the response he received was, "Just do the necessary PR. Also, appease Zhuo Wanshu well." Appease Zhuo Wanshu? The minister almost thought that he had misheard. Was he trying to pacify Zhuo Wanshu and not Wen Jingping? So, who was the big boss's little lover? The head of the public relations department had been in Hai-E Entertainment for many years and had experienced countless storms and waves. This was the first time. He was confused. And the main culprit of all this really did not have the slightest interest in Wen Jingping. Not this. Dou Tianyi threw a stack of documents on the table and rubbed his temples to relieve the discomfort in his head. Not this either. Li Yu pulled the stack of documents in front of her and flipped through a few pages. Her face was serious and distressed. Chapter 742. A few months ago, Dou Tianyi bought a bowl of Buddha jumps over the wall from a lucky fan in Su Yiyan's live broadcast room at a high price. He enjoyed the delicacy alone under Li Yu's disapproving gaze. He thought that what awaited him would be an uncomfortable allergic reaction and the familiar shock. He did not expect that after eating it, he would not have any symptoms of discomfort. Although the 1-month relapse still came as scheduled, the symptoms were much better. However, the effect of the soup seemed to last only for a month. In the second month, Dou Tianyi's illness returned to its original state. Even so, this discovery still surprised Dou Tianyi. His intuition told him that this soup was different from the dishes that Wen Jingping had made for him during this time. This streamer, who was hidden behind the screen, could do much more for him than Wen Jingping. Since then, Dou Tianyi issued the most urgent order to all the employees in charge of intelligence work. They were to find this streamer at all costs. At that time, Li Yu naively thought that as long as Dou Tianyi was determined to investigate, he would be able to find her very quickly. As a result, the investigation took several months. They investigated several people, but none of them were the streamer. Why isn't even this one? At first, the investigation went very smoothly. Do Tianyi's face darkened slightly. We've been deceived. Deceived? Deceiving others, deliberately mystifying things. Li Yu was not stupid. After hearing what he said, she instantly thought of something. Do you mean that someone deliberately set up a smokescreen to confuse us so that we won't find the real streamer? Do Tianyi did not speak. He bent his finger and knocked on the wheelchair handle. After a long while, he pointed at a magnified picture on the screen. Get someone to check this ring. Ring? Li Yu took a closer look and found that it was a somewhat blurry magnified picture of a human hand. In the middle of the picture was a beautiful diamond ring on the ring finger. She's wearing it on her hand. It went without saying who Do Tianyi was referring to. This ring was naturally Su Yiyan and Hua Qinhuan's wedding ring. When they had just gotten married, Su Yiyan had worn this ring for a few live broadcasts. Later on, perhaps she felt that it was inconvenient to bring it along to cook, and she was also worried that it would fall off when she was washing things, so she put it away and rarely appeared again. Do Tianyi had been watching all the recordings of Su Yiyan's live stream during this period of time, so it was not strange for him to notice this. The style and workmanship of this ring are rare. She and her husband should have some background and not be short of money. It's very likely that the wedding ring was specially custom-made. You can check in this direction. Li Yu's eyes lit up. Alright, I'll check it out right away. Su Yiyan, who didn't know that she had been targeted because of a wedding ring, happily finished eating Wen Jingping's melon. She listened to the system's real-time broadcast with satisfaction. The snatching golden finger halo had increased by a lot. Together with the previous rewards, it had increased to 20%. She believed that when Wen Jingping's drama started airing and its reputation suffered a setback, this progress would usher in a small explosion. She just had to wait patiently. Young madam, there's an email for you. Email? Who sent it? It's not written here. It seems to be an anonymous email. An anonymous email? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and glanced at the email brought in by the bodyguard. From its appearance, it seemed to be something like a document card. It was quite thick, so it shouldn't be dangerous. Su Yiyan took the email and tore it open. When she flipped through the contents, her pupils suddenly shrank. Chapter 743. This email contained a bunch of photos of the two of them smiling and talking face to face, holding hands, and sitting together drinking coffee. Su Yiyan scrolled down expressionlessly and even found a high-definition photo of little Kanji at her full moon ceremony. In the photo, Hua Qinhuan was holding the juice that Su Yiyan wanted to drink that day. She was standing face to face with another woman, and behind them was a light blue ocean background. Needless to say, it was quite beautiful. Tisk. Su Yiyan stared at the photo for a long time and nodded approvingly. It's not bad. The pale-faced bodyguards at the side? Was young madam so angry that she became stupid? These photos were obviously sent deliberately to anger her. Why was she admiring them? Was Su Yiyan angry? Of course she was angry. The moment she saw these photos, she didn't know why, but her first reaction was that a few months ago, Hua Qinhuan had asked someone to send the evidence of Hua Qihan's infidelity to Mrs. Hua in the form of an email. How long had it been, and someone was using the same method to deal with her? But on second thought, although they were similar, comparing Hua Qinhuan to Hua Qihan was an insult to her man. Hua Qihan was real, and her man, Su Yiyan, had absolute confidence that he would never cheat. These photos seemed to be a lot, but in fact, some were real and some were fake. Except for the one at the full moon ceremony, there were a few that were real. The rest were either composite or misplaced. It was fine if such things could fool laymen, but if they wanted to fool her, they were still not good enough. To put it bluntly, they were all 1,000-year-old foxes. Why were they playing games with her? The reason why Su Yiyan was angry was not that her man was suspected of cheating, but that some people coveted her man and dared to put their claws on her. The photos were taken when the child was 1 month old. They waited for so long before sending them with this pile of photos. Wasn't it because they knew that she was in the advanced stages of her pregnancy and was emotionally unstable? Pregnant women were more sensitive, and seeing a pile of suspected intimate photos of her husband with another woman. No matter how much she usually trusted her husband, she would definitely have some doubts in her heart right now. Her initial suspicion would instantly expand to 80, 90, or even 10%. Under anger and grievance, it was inevitable that she would clash with her husband. The quarrel between the two of them was secondary. If they were impulsive and hurt the child in her belly, it might be a matter of 2 lives. After understanding this, Su Yiyan narrowed his eyes dangerously and made a video call. Why, young madam? Yu Zian had never expected that Su Yiyan would suddenly take the initiative to look for him. He was so excited that he couldn't even speak properly. Do I eat people? Why do you seem to be afraid of me? After saying that, he seemed to have thought of something and laughed softly. Even if I eat people, I definitely won't eat someone like you. Don't worry. Yu Zian. Oh my God, young madam was speaking dirty words. Was this the distortion of human nature or the decay of morals? No, no, no. I'm not afraid of you. I was just agitated when I received your video call. Yes, agitated. It wasn't that Su Yiyan hadn't contacted them before, but under normal circumstances, she would either call them or send them a message. This was the first time she had sent a video call. Are you done being agitated now? I'm done being agitated. Pfft. Su Yiyan almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. That's good. I'm looking for you today because I have something to ask you. I hope you can answer me truthfully. Chapter 744. Do you have something to ask me? Yu Zian seemed to wake up from a dream and hurriedly expressed his loyalty. Please ask, please ask. As long as it's something I know, I'll tell you everything I know. Very good. Su Yiyan nodded in agreement. She picked up the photo on the table and put it in front of the camera. Do you know this woman? Woman? Yu Zian was stunned. When he took a closer look, his expression suddenly changed. This, looks like you know her. When Su Yiyan saw his reaction, her eyes turned cold. She smiled meaningfully. Tell me, who is this? What does she have to do with Chenhuan? Su Yiyan's smile made Yu Zian's hair stand on end. He originally wanted to say that he didn't know this woman and was just surprised to see this photo, but the words got stuck in his throat and he silently swallowed them back down. It's nothing, it's nothing. I swear on my integrity that this woman has absolutely nothing to do with young master. Oh? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. Then why are they standing together and talking to each other? They seem to be quite familiar with each other. Yu Zian's heart was alarmed. He hurriedly said, Young madam, don't misunderstand. It's definitely not what you think. This photo. Yu Zian didn't dare to say that this photo was fake, because the woman in the photo had indeed known them for a long time. Moreover, the photo seemed to have been taken recently. If he said it casually, and young master came back and young madam asked about it when young master came back, wouldn't he have done something bad with good intentions? Yu Zian's mind was full of twists and turns. He gritted his teeth and said, Someone must have taken this photo on purpose to sow discord between you and young master. Young madam, you have to believe that young master's feelings for you can be seen by the sun and the moon. I guarantee with my life that young master has only liked you from the beginning to the end. It is absolutely impossible for him to have any improper contact with other women. I don't know where this photo came from, but I'm sure that young master would never have any feelings for Miss Song. Pfft. Su Yiyen didn't expect Yu Zian to have such a big reaction. The corner of his mouth twitched. Okay, I didn't mean to embarrass you. I'm just curious about this woman. Yu Zian broke out in a cold sweat. He carefully looked at Su Yiyen to make sure that she wasn't angry. Then he breathed a sigh of relief and said, "This woman's surname is Song Yunyuan. She's the youngest daughter of the Song family." Song family? Which Song family? The Song family was a big family in City A long time ago. Later, they moved away. Su Yiyen nodded knowingly. No wonder she had no impression of it. This is Miss Song. It wasn't hard to guess Miss Song's identity. She was one of Hua Chunhuan's former suitors. However, compared to a certain unknown niece, this suitor was at least known to Hua Chunhuan and even family Hua. Now that he suddenly came looking for her, it was more believable. Song Yunyuan and Hua Chunhuan were schoolmates. On the first day of school, she fell in love with Hua Chunhuan at first sight. Since then, she had been pestering him. Although the Song family was considered a big family with a long history, they had declined from their peak and their family business had begun to decline. On the other hand, Hua Chunhuan's father was in the prime of his life. The family Hua's business was also booming. Overall, they were much stronger than the Song family. The Song family saw that Song Yunyuan liked Hua Chunhuan. If the Song family and family Hua had a marriage alliance, it would be greatly beneficial to their family. Therefore, they tried their best to matchmake the two of them. Chapter 745. With the support of her family, Song Yunyuan became even more unscrupulous in her pursuit of Hua Chunhuan. She even reached out to Hua Chunhuan's mother. Unfortunately, Hua Chunhuan's mother was not a feudal elder who liked to intervene in her son's love affairs. Her attitude towards Miss Song had always been lukewarm, and she left the decision to Hua Chunhuan. Unexpectedly, Miss Song was also a person who wanted a yard after taking an inch. Hua Chunhuan's mother had never rejected her outright, so she took her attitude as a tacit agreement. She became more and more determined to win Hua Chunhuan. At that time, Hua Chunhuan was considered the most handsome boy in school. Although he looked a little distant, he was handsome and rich, and there were many suitors. After this Miss Song found out about it, she had dealt with them both openly and secretly. She was behaving like an imperial concubine. Hua Chunhuan did not know about this at first. Later, when he found out, he wanted to clarify things with this woman and ask her to stay away from him. That was when the accident happened. Back then, Miss Song and the other members of the Song family found out about young master's accident. They also heard that master and madam gave the Hua Corporation to Hua Chihan before they died. They sent Miss Song abroad overnight. After 1 or 2 years, the whole family moved away and never came back. Su Yiyen heard this and raised her eyebrows slightly. She said with a faint smile, "From your tone, it seems that you are quite regretful that the Song family sent Miss Song away." The expression on Yu Zian's face suddenly froze. This was a question of death. No, I'm just angry. Before master, madam, and young master died, this person said it better than singing. When something happened, she ran away faster than anyone else. She changed her attitude at the drop of a hat. At first, she was the one who rushed to throw herself at him. In the end, when something happened, she ran away without a trace. It was as if her young master wanted to force her to marry him. Because of this incident, Hua Chunhuan, who was forced to accept the crippling of her legs, was ridiculed by many people. Yu Zian, Gu Xiaoyang, and the others' fathers had all been indebted to the family Hua. It could be said that they had grown up with Hua Chunhuan. They had witnessed everything that had happened back then. They really did not have a good impression of Miss Song and the Song family behind her. It could even be said that they hated her so much that their teeth itched. Su Yiyen rolled his eyes and said with a smile, "You don't have to be so angry about this. Yu Zian. Husband and wife are birds in the same forest, but when disaster strikes, they fly separately. Even a married couple was like this, let alone a pitiful wretch who had no name and no status. Not everyone in this world is as devoted to your young master as I am." Yu Zian. Although young madam's words make a lot of sense, that's not a reason for you to show off your love. But on second thought, Su Yiyen's words were not unreasonable. When Hua Chenhuan was in trouble, although she did not stay by his side and never leave him, that was because the two of them had not crossed paths at that time. At least when the two of them got married, Hua Chenhuan's legs were still crippled. Under such circumstances, she could still ignore the rumors outside, stubbornly marry Hua Chenhuan, and treat him so wholeheartedly. Her love was indeed stronger than gold. Thinking of this, Yu Zian's expression improved a lot. Someone sent these photos to me anonymously this morning. No matter who is behind this, their purpose is definitely not simple. Help me find out where Miss Song is now, when she came back, and what she wants to do this time. Chapter 746. Su Yiyen might be able to guess the answers to these questions, but it was safer to get someone to investigate some of the details. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. This person had already stepped all over her, so there was no reason for her to hold back and not fight back. If a tiger didn't show its might, she would really be treated as Hello Kitty. Yu Zian obviously thought the same. Song Yunyuan's appearance was too coincidental, and the timing of these photos was not right either. He didn't believe that there were so many coincidences in this world. Back then, when his young master didn't inherit the company and his legs were crippled, he ran away faster than a rabbit. Now that his young master's legs had recovered, he wanted to come back and pick up ready-made goods. How could there be such a good thing? Don't worry, leave this to me. I promise I'll find out everything about her ancestors and make sure she can't do anything. Okay. Su Yiyen nodded. Then he seemed to have thought of something and said, "Don't tell Chenhuan about this for now." Huh? When Chenhuan comes back, I'll ask him personally. Yu Zian. For some reason, he suddenly had an ominous feeling. Young master, you're on your own now. The same goes for the rest of you. Su Yiyen hung up the video call and turned to look at the bodyguards beside him, who were ready to tip him off. Nobody is allowed to say a word about what happened today. The bodyguards. It was too difficult for them. However, they already knew who was at the top of the food chain in this family, so in the end, they rationally chose to listen to Su Yiyen and kept this matter under wraps for the time being. President Hua, who was completely unaware that he had been betrayed by his family, was caught off guard and faced with a fatal question that night. Last time at little Kanji's 1-month-old birthday party, did you meet anyone when you helped me get the juice? Hua Chenhuan's body suddenly stiffened as he hugged Su Yiyen. Why are you suddenly asking this? Su Yiyen looked up at him. I suddenly thought of it, so I asked. Can't you tell me? Hua Chenhuan instinctively felt a little dangerous, so he quickly said, no. No? You didn't meet anyone? Hua Chenhuan grabbed Su Yiyen's restless hand. He knew that Su Yiyen wasn't the kind of person who liked to inquire about things. Since he suddenly asked this question, he must know something, so he didn't hide it. There's nothing that I can't tell you. That day. Who? Someone who doesn't matter to me. A woman? Yeah. Su Yiyen was not so easily fooled. She continued to interrogate him. Since it's not important, why did you deliberately hide it from me? Are you feeling guilty? Of course not. Don't misunderstand. I have nothing to do with her. I didn't say it at first because I didn't feel comfortable seeing you with your distant cousin. This jealousy of yours is really extraordinarily bold and self-righteous. It's hard to say with outsiders around. What did she do? Did she confess to you? Hua Chenhuan's heart skipped a beat. He secretly thought that she already knew something. Otherwise, she wouldn't have asked such a question. No. She just said some ambiguous and specious words. I was too lazy to talk to her, so I left. But when I was about to come back, she stopped me. At that time, I was still holding the juice for you. I was worried that she would spill it, so I wasted some time with her. Chapter 747. Su Yiyan's eyes flashed. No wonder Hua Chenhuan took so long to come back at that time. He even said that it was because he didn't have enough raw materials, so he sent people out to buy raw materials. Hua Chenhuan obviously also thought of this. He inexplicably coughed with a guilty conscience and asked in a low voice, "Why did you suddenly ask about this?" Isn't it all because of the romantic debts you've incurred outside? You're even showing off in front of me. How can I not ask? Hua Chenhuan's face darkened. What? Look at this. Su Yiyan curled his lips and handed a pile of photos that someone sent over to Hua Chenhuan. It turned out that the bodyguards that Hua Chenhuan arranged to protect Su Yiyan had already betrayed. They didn't have any information about such an important matter in advance, which caught him off guard and made him a little dumbfounded. These. Hua Chenhuan's face completely darkened. Don't misunderstand. These are basically fake. Basically? Su Yiyan raised his eyebrows and deliberately teased him. So, not all of them are fake. Hua Chenhuan. This was a fatal question. Su Yiyan looked at someone's constipated expression and almost couldn't hold back his laughter. He raised his chin slightly and pointed at the pile of photos. I'll give you a chance to pick out the real photos from here. Hua Chenhuan was silent for a moment and lowered his head to pick out the photos seriously. In the end, only 3 of the 20 photos were picked out that were real in the same frame, and one of them was the photo from the banquet. Su Yiyan had already roughly determined the authenticity of these photos before this. Seeing that he had picked out these 3 photos, the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He took the photo that he had just explained to him and pointed at the other 2. What's with these 2 photos? Did you meet her after that? Hua Chenhuan's eyes turned cold. When she thought of the 2 so-called coincidental encounters after the 1-month-old banquet, her mood couldn't help but turn sour. This picture was taken at a high-class restaurant. At the time, the boss of a company proposed to discuss a collaboration at this place. This collaboration was very important to the company, so I went there. Then, you met her in that restaurant? Yes. Did the boss take her there? No. She was sitting diagonally across from us. Oh. Su Yiyan nodded understandingly and sighed from the bottom of her heart. That's really a coincidence. You haven't been to the restaurant for several years. It's not easy for you to go there once, and she bumped into you. Is this fate? Hua Chenhuan's face darkened. She recalled that when they met again, Song Yunyuan's first sentence was, "What a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you here." It's fate. Was it really fate, or was it intentional? If Hua Chenhuan had only been suspicious before, now that she saw these photos, her suspicions were confirmed. However, did she intentionally send someone to follow him and bribe the people around him to know his movements in advance? Or did she deceive the boss and use him as a stepping stone to get closer to her, leading her to meet her coincidentally? Or was it a combination of both? Since she was sitting diagonally across from you at the beginning, how did she get to sit at the same table with you? She came over to strike up a conversation and sat down on her own. Oh. But I told her to get lost very quickly. What? Su Yiyen was stunned. She was a little confused by this strange development. You told her to get lost? In front of the boss? Aren't you afraid that your partner will think that you're too ungentlemanly and directly blow off the contract? However, why did she feel a little good after hearing what he said? He. Chapter 748. Since Hua Chenhuan dared to do this, she definitely wasn't afraid. At that time, Song Yunyuan came over to their table and suggested that they share a table. Hua Chenhuan knew what she was thinking and replied, "We don't know each other well." These 4 words could be said to be a living weapon of mass destruction. The subtle and ambiguous atmosphere between them instantly froze. Even Hua Chenhuan's partner couldn't help but widen her eyes. She was surprised by Hua Chenhuan's coldness towards girls. Song Yunyuan didn't seem to expect that Hua Chenhuan wouldn't give her face in front of so many people. When she tactfully suggested that they share a table, she had already acted first and sat down. As soon as Hua Chenhuan said this, Song Yunyuan immediately fell into a dilemma. She felt that everyone's eyes were on her, making her feel as if she was sitting on pins and needles. However, Song Yunyuan remembered that she still had things to do. In the end, she suppressed her anger and said with a faint smile, "Your words are a little sad. Although we haven't seen each other for many years, back then," before Song Yunyuan could finish, Hua Chenhuan interrupted her, "We didn't know each other back then. If there's nothing else, Miss Song, please help yourself. We still have business to talk about. We don't have time to play house with you." Song Yunyuan couldn't maintain the smile on her face. She gritted her teeth and said, "We've known each other for a while. Are you really not going to give me any face?" Hua Chenhuan didn't even look at her. In response to Song Yunyuan's words, she simply said, "Get lost." After hearing Hua Chenhuan's description, Su Yiyen could almost imagine the embarrassing scene when someone left. Her mood instantly soared. She wasn't a Virgin Mary who loved the world and could share her man with other women. She felt that she was doing something for the family and was moved by herself. For this kind of woman who clearly knew that he was already married but still rushed over to seduce him, no matter how embarrassing it was, she was asking for it. However, although she was happy, she was still a little worried about the important collaboration Hua Chenhuan had mentioned. It would be a great loss if this woman failed for no reason. When Hua Chenhuan learned about Su Yiyen's worries, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. For a moment, he didn't know whether to be moved by his family's concern for his career or helpless that her focus was always so unexpected. "We've already reached an agreement. What you're worried about didn't happen. On the contrary, my rejection actually helped me gain some goodwill from my business partner." Su Yiyen looked surprised. "Really?" "Yes." As Su Yiyen had expected, Hua Chenhuan's attitude toward Song Yunyuan had indeed surprised and disgusted the other party's boss. He didn't know the cause and effect. He only saw Hua Chenhuan's attitude toward Song Yunyuan and thought that he looked down on girls. For this reason, the other party even tried to tactfully hint to him that a fair and graceful woman was a good match for a gentleman, and vice versa. No matter what, she only liked you. Even if you didn't like her, you didn't have to go to this extent. It was too hurtful. In response, Hua Chenhuan only replied, "I'm married. My wife is pregnant with the fruit of our love. I love my wife very much and I love my family very much. She knows all of this." The boss was a foreigner. He really didn't know that Hua Chenhuan was already married. After hearing Hua Chenhuan's words, his face suddenly became like a color palette. It was very interesting. He thought that it was a young man courageously pursuing love, but he didn't expect that it was a coquettish B*TCH who seduced a married man. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.